Okay, showing as live. Thanks for joining us today. We are following up on our from our last episode of uh, is 2025, 2026 going to be a good time to buy? We're going to drill down a little bit in more detail about new construction homes versus resell, kind of the best way to go about it, capitalizing on where the market's at. Well, one, where the market's at, how to best capitalize on the market, things to consider. So we're going to cover a lot of ground, hopefully very quickly. At the end, we'll get into the very exciting stuff of the seller promotions. This is day one of a new month. So we always kind of check if the builders are having promotions, how aggressive the promotions are, meaning credits to you, upgrade packages, things like that. So we'll get into all that detail as well. We'll bring Chase Hodgson on as our co-host and favorite lender. How you doing, buddy?
Good, Jerod. How are you doing today, man?
Yeah, I'm good. This new construction stuff's a little near and dear to my heart. This is where I started in real estate, in large part due to my uh, design degree, architectural design degree background. So this is right in my wheelhouse. I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's good. Same boat, right? Like we don't have enough homes for the people who want to live here, so new construction is a big piece of our real estate, and yeah, needs to be taken care of for sure.
Well, that's a good thing to point out is if you are looking specifically in our market, and I'm guessing in a lot of markets because nationally inventory has been really low, the best way to get inventory is to create product, which is what the builders do. Obviously, getting people out of their existing home with the low rates that they had is tough to do. So that even compounds the reason why you would be looking at new construction
Yeah,
even closer. So I think this is going to be really relevant, really helpful for a lot of folks. But let me do a couple of small housekeeping items here real quick before we get into it. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Jerod Lee. I'm the associate broker and team lead here at My Home Connection, also known as MHC Realty. Our sponsor for today is the perfect home buying process. We've spent the better part of the last couple of decades. Actually, I take that back. We just rolled over 20 years. Putting this concept, these tools together, and how to best help you in the home buying process. Lot of tools, techniques, a lot of value add information, secrets, podcasts, reports, things like that. We're working in conjunction with Chase with a specific promotion right now, up to $500 on the appraisal of your home on the lending side, and up to $500 on the inspection, because we feel very strongly about getting inspection, even on new construction homes. So feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions on the promotion or any of the tools that we can help with. So with that, we're going to get into a lot of detail, and I've briefly talked about this a couple of years ago, but we're going to get into some nuances, some changes over the years, specifically on the lending side, where builders are pulling in-house lenders and kind of what that changes in the way of dynamic, how buyers approach the market. So I really appreciate your insight, because the last one was with an agent on the team on the real estate side. So your lending experience and appraisal experience is really going to come in handy here. Um, I guess let me make sure I got the outlay here correct. I guess the first thing that I wanted folks to know is um, we feel very strongly about getting not only professional representation, but personal professional representation, right? Because the tendency could be, hey, I'm driving around, I pull into a builder community, and now I'm in the sales office. What do I do? What's kind of your thoughts on that dynamic these days?
I don't like that. I don't like it at all.
That's
Like, so
that
I'm all about. So in our market, I'm try to do this without offending a whole bunch of people, right?
right, right.
In our market, the nationals have come in hot and heavy, right,
Yep.
over the past few years.
National builders, not local, not regional, but people that build across the country.
Which there is a need for that in our market. Not
Yeah, but
saying
that
that,
changes a lot.
yeah, it does. And the trends that I've seen with some of the larger ones are if you walk into a home, and you don't have a buyer rep signed, and or your agent's not with you, they cannot represent you on that transaction. Now, does that mean you're going to get cheated? No, it doesn't mean you're going to get cheated. But you need to have someone on your side making sure that things are done in your best interest.
Are you getting well represented or the best represented? And
Correct.
really, they can't, right? Because the on-site agent is beholden to that builder.
That's the way it is, right? Like, yeah,
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
there's a moral compass, right? And if that agent's got one or not, we hope that they do. You know, to protect that buyer. But yeah, ultimately they're representing the builder, and that's their
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, and some of the examples are light examples like, hey, I'm in this community and that agent, that on-site agent represents that community and they get credit for selling homes in that community versus an agent like myself is not only going to help you look at that builder and multiple communities and what might be a better fit, but multiple builders. Why you would go with builder A versus B or C, who's building the better home, who's got the better quality, who's got the better value, who's got the better promotions. Like, we're going to speak as your representative to all of that from a holistic view where the on-site agent maybe isn't trying to do you wrong, but they don't have visibility nor an incentive to look outside of what they're offering.
Right. No, that's not their job. That's
Right.
just flat out their job. They're representing that builder and that builder's communities, and so that's going to be, and a lot of times those agents don't even cross over from one community to the next, right? So they're going to try and sell you something specifically there. Well, if you've gotten with an agent and gone through the process properly, and they've gotten to know you and asked the right questions, and they're representing you on a personal level, they know what part of town is best for you. They know, what schools, what everything. Whereas walking into a builder's community with their rep, they don't know any of that stuff. They just know that they want to try and sell you that house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the national rep, and again, we're going to try to be a little sensitive how we do this, and this is an overgeneralization and not
right.
always the case, but these are the things that can happen. And most builders are agent friendly, especially when times
Yeah.
are tough because they want you to bring clients.
They know. Yeah, the builders know they need the agents, right? Like the good
Yeah.
builders definitely know they need the agents.
Yeah, so they're not typically adversarial, but they'll certainly try to keep you as a client if they can. They'd
Yeah.
prefer you not to have a personal agent, a buyer's agent, as we call it, because it just creates friction for them,
Mhm.
right? Because we're going to give them pushback, we're going to challenge them, we're going to negotiate, we're going to, ask questions that they might not necessarily always want that buyer to ask because they do go to another community or they do go to another builder. So
Right.
just things to think about. And then specifically in your space, and I imagine, you know, there's sensitivity to this, but the trend is a lot of these builders are bringing in their in-house lending team or even lending company, right? Like they are the lender or
Yeah,
they
that's
have a
that's becoming a big trend with they are the builder, they own the lending company, and they own the title company, and it's presented as big savings for the buyer, which there can be some savings in there for the buyer for sure. uh, not knowing exactly how it's broken down between the three entities, you know what I mean? Is it a shell game? Is it a like, or are they actually saving money? um, and ultimately, right, like, I look at the economy and economics as a living, breathing thing, right? We need
Mhm.
all aspects of it. We need the big guys and we need the little guys,
Yeah.
right? Like, we don't want to push the mid to smaller builders out of town because they give us a different product, right? And we need them all to be whole. And that's the same that goes for lending, the same that goes for agents, right? Like, we need people advocating for our buyers to keep a healthy, environment for them to transact in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess what I think is super important is your eyes from an outside perspective, because the in-house lenders, it can be a shell game, right? Where if you got a lower interest rate, how did you get that? Or are you really getting a lower interest rate? Because where did they start with the interest rate, and what did they buy it, down to from, and where did those monies come from? There's a lot of nuances of how that tight knit relationship can work, that your eyes will best benefit the client outside of the builder world to say this is a good deal or it's not, because it might be, but it also may not.
Yeah, and I mean, hopefully you're working with somebody that will tell you that, right? Like from our past, you know that that's how I am. Like if no, I can't match or that builder deal. That from their lender. That's a great one. You need to go do that, right? Like I don't have a problem doing that because my thought is client first, right? We want them to in the best possible
Absolutely.
financial situation that they can be in. But you need that, yeah, having those outside eyes so that you know what you're looking at, right? Like so the rates have come down a little bit. We're going through a lot of refis. As an example, um, I've got clients calling me and oh, this person tells me they can get a four or this they can get in a low fives or whatever, and so they send me this loan estimate that we call an LE, and they don't know any different, right? But there's 4 points of origination on it. You know,
Right.
it's $30,000 or $40,000 to get to that rate,
Yeah.
of either discount or origination. And so just understanding that you have someone on your side that can look at those numbers and tell you what's what.
Yeah, because there's a need to look in a lot of different areas. You can't just fixate on the rate. You can't just fixate on you know, the
Right.
origination. You can't just, because if you fixate on one, then they move another. Or not that they do, but they can.
Yeah.
There's massaging that can happen, and to look at all the numbers.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, I don't, this originally came up because I was working with a client, kind of asked me, and it was nice that they just flat out said, "Hey, is there benefits?" And I composed this pretty lengthy email
Yeah.
about here's the reasons why you would want to use an outside agent, and then I summarized it with there is, at least from an agent side, no disadvantage that I can think of, because we've worked with the builders and they're paying our buyer's agent commissions to us at closing, so there's no out of pocket cost for the buyer. So they're getting personal representation for their best interest at no out of pocket cost to them. Um, and you know, I guess I don't know how to summarize it other than there's no disadvantage for you know
There's really not a disadvantage. You want, yeah, you want somebody that knows you and somebody that you trust, right? The only disadvantage comes from the other side in that you're going to be more thorough, and you'll look at products outside of that one builder, or that one builder's development, right?
yeah
To make sure that you get your client in the best possible, uh, situation that you can. So
yeah
there's not any downfall. And from my perspective, like if I'm looking at business and I want to, I don't know what, like a mechanic, right? Would you pay a mechanic a little bit more that is doing a good job, doing you know what I mean, making things
mhm,
sure things are done right, that you can trust that when you get it back, you're not going to have any more worries, right?
yeah
Like it's kind of that's how I look at pretty much everything. I don't want to pay exorbitant fees either, and I would never. And so you need to have someone that is looking out for your interest. But like I don't know, I'll pay a little bit more to make sure that things are that I can trust that things are getting done right, right?
yeah. And
Not
in that
saying
case, but in
the
ours, you're not even
situation.
paying more. Yeah.
Yeah, you're and in this situation you're not paying anymore, but you're still going to ensure that you get protection right through the
Yeah.
transaction.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor this one too much, but I think the last thing that I would add is, as an example, is uh, having been in this industry licensed for 20 years now, inspection, right? In large part with new construction inspection. I don't know that a builder would discourage, but I doubt that they would encourage a third party inspection. We're including in our promotion to help pay up to $500 for that inspection, because even in new construction, nothing is built perfect. And sometimes they get a clean bill of health, but almost every time there's at least something small, and in more cases than you would like, major stuff that, had it not been caught, health and safety issues.
I can't think of it. The stupid. TikTok. Everything's on social media anymore. There's an inspector that goes around inspecting brand new homes, right? And I haven't seen any in Idaho,
Mhm.
um, but I've seen them around the nation, and and the stuff they find is just mind-boggling.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I should do an episode on that with an inspector. We could bring an inspector in with us and talk through. They've seen horrific stuff,
Yeah,
literally things that would burn a house down, or, major leaks in the crawl that could be, accumulating over time that may not get caught. That I'll tell this one: new construction home, clearly an OCD buyer, perfect house. I mean, it was just pristine. We were in awe of how well she took care of it. One of the pipes had broke. It was obvious at construction because when the inspector opened the crawl space hatch, it was flooded with everything that came out of the sink in the disposal. For I think it was a 2-year-old house,
oh my
and she
god.
was absolutely disgusted. I mean, she was beside herself. And anyway, so a lady that took really good care of her home, but it was obvious that that had been a couple of years worth of accumulation. Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting story. So we believe in inspections.
Yeah,
If for some reason you end up at a builder and you're working with their on-site team, please entertain a third-party inspection. Anyway, so uh, we talked about the fact that you're likely going to look at new construction, right? If you're in a price point and you're in an area and let's say there's 100 homes, the lion's share of those are going to be new construction. Obviously, with the exception of some areas of town where they're just not building, but for the most part, a
yeah,
lot of these areas are new construction homes. So this is what you're going to be looking at. But the benefits of why you would do new construction home and the differences. So if you want something specific to your needs, right? You like certain surfaces, certain flooring, certain fixtures. You like a big back patio. You got an EV, so you need the connection in the garage. Whatever it would be, build something personal and to suit. And by the way, not all builders build to suit, right? Some build what they call a spec home. It's a specification that's outlined, permitted, and being built exactly the way the builder has spelled it out. You're going to buy what they're building when it's complete. So that's the difference between a spec and a to be built. And there's a reason for one versus the other. Spec is just kind of easy, no big thoughts. It's probably on the market already and just kind of move in ready. And then build a suit's going to take the time to work with them in their design center and pick your upgrades. Anyway, what's your thoughts
yeah,
on?
yeah. That really um, sums it up. There may be some price differences, right? Like when they do spec it, you might get a little bit more of a deal on it. They don't they don't want to hold inventory, but they want to be able to showcase what they do. But then the more personal you get, understanding that could cost more money, right?
Yeah,
So it's just all about your needs and financially where you fit in that bracket. But
yeah,
either way, right? We have everything in town here. We've got great builders that only build spec, and that's the only way you can buy them.
yep,
And then we've got more that lean toward the custom side that are looking for clients to work with. So we
yeah.
still have a good variety in this valley of both.
Yeah, and some of the specs are referred to as move-in ready, which depending on the builder can be a little misleading because move-in ready to me means it's just done, right? The landscaping's in. I might even imply that I got all my appliances and blinds and I walk in the house and move my couch in and off I go. But that's not always the case. Move in ready could mean you still mean you don't have a backyard. It probably means you still don't have blinds. Likely means you still don't have refrigerator and washer and dryer. So we, as an outside agent, can help you identify who what move-in ready means to different builders, why you would go with one versus the other, and we'll get into how we can actually get that stuff included later on. But that's important to know. And then the other last thing I would say is the differentiation between spec, build to suit, and custom. Right, full
Mm.
custom is ground up, blank slate. I'm going to tell you how I want the house built, and we're going to start from scratch. Versus build to suits, kind of semi-custom. Maybe a room isn't a bedroom; it's a flex room, so it doesn't have a closet and a door.
Yeah, it's
Um,
adjusting a plan that they already have, right? Like
yeah,
whether it just colors and finishes, or maybe moving a wall or something.
Yeah, that's the majority, I would say. We've got one in particular that's just specs, maybe just a few more. Most are kind of that build to suit, have that design center, walk through it. And you're probably not doing customs until you get it to the million plus range where you're starting from scratch from a builder. And that's a whole another conversation. That's involved. That's a marriage tester.
I will say that the cool thing about where we're at right now is, yes, we have nationals coming in, and like, so, which is, we've got multiple nationals now, national builders,
Mm-hmm.
and interesting to see there's quite a bit of difference in the
Mm-hmm.
products that they provide.
Yeah.
And then we've got some big local builders, some mid-sized local builders, some small ones, some custom, quite a few. Like, there is a good variety right now
Yeah.
of new construction in this valley to pick from,
Yep.
which is again why you want to make sure that you have an agent working for you so that you get to see all the options that might fit your needs.
Yeah, there is a wide range. The larger regional and nationals coming in have made for a more competitive environment. So the local builders, the big to small local builders have had to step up their game. They're building better quality homes. They're adding more features. Their communities, of which is one of our next topics, are stepping up. What the amenities are: clubhouses, pools, tot lots, common areas. So they're starting to ratchet up their game for sure. But I would say they are not all created equal. I've recently, and I'm not going to share names here, but heard horror stories of one of the national builders here, like
Mm-hmm.
literal horror stories. So, you know, what our job is to talk with the inspectors as they go in, right? Do that third party inspection on a new construction home, catch what's going on, and help keep a finger on the pulse for you as buyers to say who's building a good home right now, because who built a good home 10 years ago doesn't mean they're building a good home today, right? Their subs might have changed, their QC policies might have changed, they might be struggling financially. I wouldn't insert
Different
problem
ownership
here.
altogether.
Yeah, while you were in appraising, right? You've seen it, right? You're like, man, they used to build an amazing home, and now that's trash.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. It's things change over the years. Yeah, and they could also get better, right? Maybe not worse, but get somebody that maybe didn't have the best reputation, because it's hard to start a business, especially in that industry, and find the right subs and
Yeah,
all of that, but got better over time,
yeah,
right? Like that, it's both ends of the spectrum. But again, having your own representation that is experienced and knows these things, and knows how to help you find the right home.
yeah,
That's the
yeah.
important part.
And we do have a series. I think it's literally under our podcast series of different new construction builders. We talk about the nuances, who's building specs versus build to suits, and what kind of communities they have, where they're at, and a lot of that. I don't touch so much on the quality, because if you read it, listen to it a year from now, that could have changed. So you want to, you know, reach out to us and say, are they building a good quality home today, right? We've got some local builders, like I said, that are building a way better product today than they were 5, 10 years ago, because of the competition in large
Yeah.
part. So
Yep. Yeah, it's
anyway,
good. No, it's a good time right now. Like, there's a lot of different products, to fit a lot of different needs. So I like what's going on in the valley with new construction right now.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Warranty, right? So on a reseller existing home, you can get a third party warranty. Um, Look at the details of what that warranty is, but generally speaking, it's not nearly as robust as a new construction warranty, right? Because they're probably still on site. They probably still got subs in the area, especially the ones that build out their whole development, right? They're not in a community that have 4 or 5 or 6 different builders, um, and they're just really responsive, and it's within that first year, so there's no ambiguity, that type of thing. So
Yeah, with new construction, you automatically get a year warranty, and I've heard about some builders offering more now
yeah,
on their construction homes, right?
yeah.
But minimum, you're getting a year warranty.
Yeah, by law, state law, you have to have a year, and then some will have 3 and 7 year. Um, I had heard of a 10, but I think they backed it off to a 7, and those are third party. Well, I take that back. Most seem to be third party warranties, which is fine, right? They're paying another company to warranty the home, and that's usually kind of structural, and of that nature. But some are 3 years. Those might be third party, or they might be in house. I do know a local. Well, they're a regional builder that's 3 year in house. So directly supported, which is one of the better ones that I've heard. But I'm just saying they're not all created equal. But as far as new construction goes, you're going to get the better warranty than on a resale.
Right. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. And that's, and yeah, obviously the difference between, new and it's just knowing that security, right? Everything is brand new in a new construction home.
right, right, yeah. I don't have a 10-year-old furnace sitting in my garage.
Mhm.
Maybe fine for 20 years, and it might be fine for 2 more months.
Yep.
Who knows? Um, so amenities, it's interesting because we've seen a shift in certainly the entry to mid price homes communities. I've seen more amenities come in, I think in large part to keep up with the large national builders, because they're generally buying big swaths of dirt, doing a big development, and they're kind of either aware of a requirement to from where they've been building, or a need to based upon the clientele to put in those
Yeah.
kind of more desirable amenities.
Yeah, definitely seeing a shift in that. More, different communities offering different things, and it's nice, right? Like there's a lot of open spaces in the developments these days. Um, yeah, when water features, like all of that stuff is coming into play,
Yeah.
and it's not.
Yeah. Now, what I would say is that I would talk you through is what are the costs, right? Because that's not free.
No.
So you got your HOA dues that are going to be based upon what it's going to take to maintain all those features, and are you going to use them realistically, right? Like, oh, I'd love a pool, until you see everybody's 5, 6 year old, 3 year old child swimming around. You know what I mean? I mean,
Right.
I'm kind of joking, but
Yeah. Well, and do they have enough, right? Do they have one pool in a big community? Do they have, like, are you ever going to be able to use it anyway, right? So, yeah,
right, right. So don't pay for it if you're really not going to use it.
that's right.
You
That's
know,
right.
yeah. Not all clubhouses are created equal, right? I mean, some you get these little itty bitty things, and others you get, pool tables and foosball, and you know. Our job is to help you identify which communities are you likely to make sense for your lifestyle,
Yep.
such that when you're paying for it, it just kind of makes sense. You don't want to be in a community 3 years into it, paying all this money, looking around at these amenities that you're never paying for.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And
So
yeah, there's some cool opportunities out there. You talk about what's going on out in Avonmore and the outdoor activities and things that are going in, and
yeah,
seen a lot of pickleball courts all around the valley and in communities now too. So,
a lot of pickleball. Pickleball might be in the Olympics at some point. We'll see.
uh,
Wouldn't that be a day?
it will be interesting. I will never be an Olympic pickleballer. I can guarantee
I will
that.
never be an Olympic pickleball either. Anyway, real briefly, I did want to describe some of the other considerations to think about resale versus resale and existing versus new construction. Is mature trees,
Hmm.
not going to happen. You're going to get these little fledglings. Um, you don't really know quite how the community is going to be maintained just yet. Obviously, the CCNRs are going to dictate that, but how are they enforced? How quickly are they enforced? In a mature neighborhood, right? You got an idea. On an existing home, they're likely to leave the blinds behind. Often they're leaving the refrigerator behind. Sometimes they're leaving the washer and dryer behind. These are negotiable things, but
Yeah.
you're way more likely to get that stuff in an existing home than you are in new construction. Not that we can't help you negotiate that, which we'll
Right.
get to in a little bit, but those are the things you would want to consider.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably the biggest difference, right? It's just you can see the community, you can see how it's been maintained. The interesting thing is that all communities have a life cycle as well, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
as they'll start out as a new community and they'll age, and then as they age, they kind of downslide, and then they go through renovation periods, and it all tends to happen together. So,
yeah,
you'll probably find that in your new community as well. So it's just if you're buying that home, you're able to see what stage of that life cycle it's in if you're buying an existing home.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing I would add before we move on to our next topic is, not only do you get in new construction, new appliances, maybe new countertops or new flooring like LVP, some of the things that you didn't have back then, but just the floor plans are current, right? So you're probably not having functional obsolescence, right? Things of, hey, nobody does a formal living room anymore. I
Right.
wouldn't use that. So most of the plans don't have that. So typically kind of that trendy, open, right? Kitchen,
Mhm.
living, you know, so you're getting more current, relevant, more desirable plans as well. You're getting the big trend is the fourth bedroom, right? Because now we got a lot more remote work from home stuff. So 3 and 2s aren't nearly as possible as desirable now as 4 and 3s are, 4 and 2.5s are, type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That stuff changes over time. I'm talking to a guy here that lives in a 72 ranch, right? That, I mean, we've it doesn't we've made it fit our family basically, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Anyway, well, let's move on to not a newer. Well, I guess it is newer, relatively speaking. A lot of folks are relatively new to this idea of an interest rate buy down,
Mhm.
right? Where a lot of the reason for pause has been, hey, rates are high,
Yeah.
and we know that they're not high compared to the historical average, right? 7 has been kind of the 30-year, well, 40, anyway, 40, 50-year national average, but it's higher than the 2s, 3s, 4s we saw during COVID. So it could
Mhm.
seem high, but this now new seller concession is literally to fund the lender such that they can buy the rate down, hopefully in a fixed mortgage and sometimes
Yeah.
an ARM.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different options, right? That's one of the things about and I'm sure we've talked about this before, but that's one of the things about the lending industry is basically products come up to suit whatever need we're having, and over the last few years, it's been interest rate, relief, and so there's a couple different types of buy down. I focused mainly on a temporary buy down, because the difference in rate was. Of where we were and where we'd like to be was so great that it was really expensive, right, to do a permanent buy down. And so temporary buy down gets you more bang for your buck, realistically, and we're starting to see it now. Everybody's been expecting rates to go down. And so we're finally starting to see that happen. And so temporary really fit the need for what we've been doing over the past few years. Now rates are getting low enough that it's more feasible to do a fixed buy down, right? If you have a seller credit, you can buy it down permanently, um, and then hopefully not have to refi. So,
Yeah.
you know, there's a couple different ways that that's being used, but it's been very predominant in our market over the past 3 or 4 years for sure.
Well, that's a good point of differentiation, right? If a seller has a promotion, they probably structure the promotion that yes, it is an advantage to the buyer, but it's also it's more advantageous than any other structure to the builder, right? If they say we're buying your rate down in this manner, whether it's a permanent or it's a temporary, it's probably somewhat more advantageous to them than something else. What I'm getting to is you can help a buyer in their particular financial situation say, hey, a permanent's better for you or a temporary is better for you. Let's get that structure for you at this builder A because we can't get it at builder B, or I can do it with builder A because there are builders that you can work with to get those same promotions, which may not seem obvious.
Yeah, and that's you know I hate to start out thinking everybody's doing this for their own gain, but businesses are in the business to make money, right? Like they're not here to not make money. Um, in understanding your whole situation, and what benefits you and your family the best, it's good to be able to talk with someone that's not attached to the person selling you the home, right?
Right.
Um, there is a sometimes the builders do what capital buy downs where they allocate a chunk of money over a period of time for a package of loans that they only have a certain amount of time to get those sold, and sometimes those are still great deals, right? It's just depending on the situation. A really good situation for a buyer is typically just a seller credit that you can apply in any way that you want, right? Because you don't know that you need the buy down, or you don't, maybe you don't need all of it. Maybe you prefer to have the fence put in or make some adjust. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
the seller credit's just an easier one for you to use for your situation.
Yeah. 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 Let's get it applied for your best interest, not get it applied because that was the best structure that the builder could
Yeah.
could come up
Yeah.
with. Yeah. Yeah, and I pulled up a couple of other builder sites, but I'm not going to toggle to those screens. But if you look through it, it can be confusing, and that's our job as agents and the lenders to help identify, what is that promotion? Why does that one look different? On lender A or a builder A versus builder B, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of obviously factoring in other things as well. But the promotions these days, we want to be very attentive to. The other areas we can apply it is, do I need that washer dryer, or will they even let me get a washer dryer? Because some will say no, we used to, but we don't now. Often you can use those monies for a refrigerator. Some blinds, I've heard some say no, we don't do blinds. And this is probably some relationship with either a good blind vendor or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not all created the same. It's not like you can say, hey, I've got this 25K promo or 30K promo, and I can just go shopping for whatever I need. I've already got a washer and dryer, so I don't need that. But I do need a fence, or I need,
Right.
because some will let you apply to those, and some will not.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting how that's coming around. Ways that you can and can't apply those. Yeah, the further you get away from custom, the least amount of options you have, right? And that's even
Yeah,
in the structure of the purchase, because they
yeah,
have a way that they do things, and they don't stray too far from that.
yeah, yeah. I did help a client out a couple months ago, and it was really, we got the promotion. It was true move-in ready, sprinklers, sod, fence, blinds, appliances, and I was like, wow, this is true turnkey, move-in ready. But they change, right? They can be really aggressive, and sometimes even if it's not the promotion, we can, as agents, help you negotiate to be more aggressive. So I think on that one, I even went above the promotion. But my point is, it's just important to know who's doing what. Is there true value in it? Is there true value in it for you? And then how are you going to apply it? Because in some cases it might be super helpful, and others you're like, yeah, that I don't need that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Doesn't fit every situation, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I really just wanted to lay down, why you're looking at new construction today. The fact that you are probably looking at it, whether you want to or not, what
It's
that means.
That's going to continue,
Yep.
unfortunately, until we get a more balanced inventory model here in the valley. We're gonna be new construction heavy. So
Yeah. Yep. So just laying out what the best way to drop into that is. The Cliff Notes version is get a hold of somebody like Chase and myself, because we're not beholden to any of the builders. We're extremely familiar with the majority of the builders and why you would select one over the other and how we can best match it to your needs. And
yeah,
then now, while the promotions are going, because we have to look every month because they don't tell you by design, whether they're not going to be a promotion. Is there one? Is it as aggressive as last month? Is it more aggressive? It changes all the time. So
it'll be interesting to see this winter. I think it's going to. You and I've talked about this. As rates come down, they will go away. Like there's
yep.
just no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Right.
Will it be slow enough this through the winter to maintain those until spring, or will we start to see them, like if we get another Fed cut and rates start to get considerably better, do they go away before we get to spring?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, with lower inventory numbers, there's it could go either way.
Yeah, I think your point is well said there. It could go either way. I could envision a story, a future that says rates were coming down in a significant enough way that there was enough demand that buyers came on. that the builders took away the promotions. So now all of a sudden you're not getting help with your closing costs. You're not getting these upgrades. You're not getting your fencing. So that would not surprise me. I could
Yeah.
also see that, even though rates did come down, that there's enough inventory and enough competition out there that the builders, do keep it on there, and maybe they keep it on as aggressive as it is, or maybe they cut them in half. Like, any of those scenarios I could see happening, because we're kind of in that weird space. So our job is to help you identify how aggressive do we see the rates coming down? What are we seeing the market doing? Is the demand not just hovering anymore, but attacking, meaning getting their applications in, getting under contract? Are we starting to see multiple offers? Because that just means the next month, the likelihood of those promotions going away is pretty high.
Yeah. Yeah. And we are seeing those numbers rise. We're seeing the sales numbers rise. We're seeing the mortgage applications go up.
Values are going up.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing we're starting to see is some refis possible, which is helps me, think that we're getting in a more healthy market, but it also might, like, if people are willing to refi, maybe they're willing to sell an existing home, which could also benefit our inventory as well, not
Yeah.
just new construction, but have some existing homes go on market too.
Yeah. The last thing I would say is, the winter thing, I'm kind of like, I could see it going any manner of
Right.
ways. But next, late spring, summer, fall, I think, you could tell me your thoughts. I think it's going to shift more towards a seller's market. I think promotions are probably going to go away. Seller concessions, both on the new construction and on the seller side, just because we do anticipate rates to go down. We do see that hovering demand, and that's really when everybody rolls on, is that time of the year. So if you miss that, this potential buying window, however long it's going to last, I think you're going to be disappointed in mid to late 2026.
I agree. If we make it to when the kids get out of school, I'd be surprised. And I just had a conversation with someone that I trust his opinion very well. He's been very, very successful in this space, and nationally they're expecting activity sales to go up 15%. And
Mm,
so that's a major move in a market like ours that's as hot as it is, where we're just kind of teetering on having inventory or not, right? And
yeah,
so that's a pretty big effect for us here.
yeah, yep. Well, the short takeaway is reach out to us. We'll keep you updated, and always look out for your best interests. So
For
cool.
sure.
All right. Well, as always, Chase, thanks for joining us. Thanks for your input. I hope the viewers and listeners took a lot of value out of today's conversation. But if you got any specific questions, please reach out to us. Other than that, we'll wish you a blessed one. Take care.
Take care.